Greetings, my friends. Thank you for watching this video, and if you would be so kind, please subscribe if you like what you see. Help our channel to keep growing and keep fighting the war to save pop culture. Together, we can end this destructive conflict and bring order to the galaxy. Enjoy, and thanks. I am delighted. I'm feeling very well. I am high after watching Chapter 6 of Book of Boba Fett. I was blown away by this episode. I thought that this was an incredible episode. There was so much in it. And holy crap, man. It was like 0 to 200 with Chapter 5 and 6. It's like this thing finally kicked into high gear. I thought that this was such a momentous episode that it would be great to have a panel of pop culture pundits straight from Sunday's Pop Culture Breakdown Live to go ahead and give a reaction to the show. And we've also got to talk about the choice at the end of the episode, because I think it is potentially a very fateful choice for Star Wars. I was blown away by this episode. Seeing Luke Skywalker once again acting like the Jedi Master we always wanted him to be, training Baby Yoda, Grogu himself, much as Yoda trained him, running through the forest with Grogu on his back, levitating things, being wise, being still, being masterful. This is like a dream, man. When Din Djarin sat down and we saw R2-D2's little sensor antenna there, and they tilted down to show R2. I was I was very emotional. How did you guys feel? Let's just go around the room. Kamran, what did you think when you saw R2-D2?
Well, at first, my brain didn't process it because I saw the sensor and my brain, because I wasn't expecting that. I was like, wait, they're actually, because I thought they're just, he's gonna go off and he'll return next episode and we're gonna continue the Boba Fett story, which we'll comment on why they chose to do it this way. And I thought maybe we might find out in season 3 of The Mandalorian what happened in that interlude, right? But no, they went straight there. So my brain wasn't processing initially when he was coming out and he's going to this planet, and then the sensor came up. I was like, no, that can't be right. It can't be right. And then the camera panned down to R2 and I froze. I was like, wait a minute, what? but they're not actually it's going to be a set. It's going to be one of those things where we're going to see him going into the mist and not see what happens. Oh, wait, there's Grogu. Oh my God, wait a minute, what? But they're not going to see Luke, right? And then the camera pans over, right? And so it was just, for me, it was just one shock after the other. And I just became like a little kid with a big, stupid grin on my face.
Mexican Iron Man, what was your reaction when you saw R2?
Look, man. Oh, man, I flipped out. And here's I think I literally just froze, like stunned froze, because I don't know if I told you yet, but I took the whole family to Disneyland in Southern California. And boy, did I spend a bundle of money. But I went to Disneyland and something fascinating happened where I was in the Galaxy's Edge area, and it was really striking where I looked to the right and there was someone dressed up as Rey. Hardly anyone saying hi. She's kind of alone. She's leaning up against a rail. I literally felt bad for her. Like I literally almost said, I should get one of these people in my family to take a picture. I turn around and there's this big crowd moving. Like you can't, like when you get those crowds and someone's going and there are 3 or 4 or 5 people deep and you can't see who's inside, right? So I wedged my way in, and it's R2-D2 running around. And it was so striking to me that you had little kids 3 to 5 years old, and then much older people like 60s, 70s, 80s, right? And this crowd is just all generations, and they're all following R2-D2 as he's doing a little show at Disneyland. And it was striking to me because I just found it very emotionally powerful that after all these years, he's still beloved. And then just literally to go from that to see this, boom, it was like a lightning bolt for me.
It was amazing. Gary, what did you think when you saw R2?
Well, I was really excited. As soon as I saw that little antenna head pop up, I'm like, hey, that's R2-D2. That's what a prop nerd I am. I'm like, look, it's the same little antenna from Empire Strikes Back.
Exactly.
But I love R2-D2. He's one of my favorites. And you know, when I saw Luke, I was like, oh, this is going to be another one of those CG things. And boy, it looked really good. I was pretty impressed by it. And for a moment, I actually got to sit and watch Luke Skywalker be a master Jedi, which I thought was pretty damn cool. And it was exciting. And I don't know how they did the vocal work, but I was actually impressed with it. You know, I kind of hate to admit it, but I was impressed with it.
You can be honest about what we love, right? I mean, you've always been an honest guy, Gary. So yeah,
right. You know, I have to be. You know, and I really enjoyed it. You know, as far as technical, like why this happened, why we got 2 episodes of Boba Fett without Boba Fett in them. Or you know, he made a cameo in his show for a few seconds.
He was literally like in about 90 seconds.
I kind of think, I don't know, Cameron, what do you think? I kind of think that maybe they might have had more Boba Fett show, and it was so terrible. They're like, you know what? Let's get rid of this portion of the show, and let's bring Luke back, and let's go shoot a few extra scenes of Luke training Grogu, and then we'll fill this out, and we'll give them something great. I kind of get that feeling. I kind of feel like it was literally saved at the last second in the editing room with some extra stuff. And I mean, it felt like I was watching Mandalorian season 3, which was cool. I'm cool with that because Star Wars is Mandalorian at this point. You know,
at some point when Doomcock wants us to talk about our thoughts on how this happened, I have a very specific theory that's very similar to what you're saying, Alex, to what I think happened.
Okay,
something happened here. This wasn't a normal.
I won't jump ahead. I won't jump ahead, but I really liked it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You know, I've actually been told what it was, but I don't want to get into it. I'm going to do a big video about the history of all of this, but it makes a lot of sense. But so I'll neither confirm nor deny your theory. But the Luke Skywalker thing, look, I have to say, just like you, Gary, when I saw Luke Skywalker there, and I was exactly like you. I thought, okay, let's look at the effect and let's see how good they did with this deep fake. And that was for about 30 seconds. And then I stopped because I was actually seeing Luke Skywalker with Grogu. And that is a remarkable technical achievement at this point because that uncanny valley always intruded on past things like Governor Tarkin. Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One looked cartoony. I'm sorry. A lot of people said, no, you're crazy. It looked great. No, it looked cartoony.
It did, yeah.
And Leia looked cartoony too.
It's okay with the villain because it was, you know, he's a bad guy who blows up planets. So he can be a little not fully human.
Here's another thing to think about with that as well. You know, they have all that raw footage without him brought in there. If technology gets better, they can just upgrade it later on.
Yeah.
They can update those shots. So it actually, you know, it's not like the old ILM where, okay, well, this negative's already printed. Those ships are on there. We can't go back and fix that. They can go back and fix that stuff. So, you know.
I think they will. I think they certainly will. I mean, it wouldn't be that hard. I mean,
no.
They're going to eventually want to do it. But the thing is, I couldn't believe that I was no longer thinking about the effect. I was thinking of him really being there. In a similar way that I thought of Gollum actually being there in Lord of the Rings, which I thought was the superlative CGI achievement of having a character. I thought it was an amazing technological achievement because it was so believable. But this is just like whole other level. I mean, this is amazing. And Luke behaving in the wise way that we knew he would as a Jedi Master. And yet he's still Luke Skywalker. He's not become stuffy like Yoda was in the prequels, like Mace Windu was incredibly stiff and self-righteous in those movies. When Luke levitated all the frogs out of the pond for Grogu and then let them drop, that was very similar to when Yoda levitated the X-Wing out of the water for Luke. Remember? I don't believe it. That is why you fail. Luke has a sense of humor still. He still has his essential personality, his decency, his kindness. We saw the Jedi Temple being built, and people got nervous.
And it's not on the same, at least, terrain that we saw in that fake Last Jedi in those flashbacks.
It certainly is not.
Wasn't it reassuring to and I found it reassuring to see in the credits that Mark Hamill was indeed credited.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well he did the voice. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was fantastic. That's fantastic.
Although eventually,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead. Sorry.
I found that fantastic, and I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm thinking I have to change my orientation to what's happening. I have to, instead of getting so preoccupied and worked up about is it this series or that series or this, I have to let go of compartmentalization, because what's happened is that the storytelling has blown open with the introduction of various characters and possibilities. It's not really, I think, as a critic, it's not fair for me to have such a narrowly defined box that I might have had, say, 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, they really have opened things up and taken kind of the narrative back, because it was floundering, and now it's thriving. Although Boba Fett has been shoved into the shadows, basically. But I've got more about that, like I said, Monday. But the thing is, we know that Cad Bane shows up. I'd rather not talk about what Cad Bane does, just for people that are out there. I'd like to spoil as little as possible.
I have a lot of hope for where we're going to go from here, but I think what excites me more than anything else is that we finally have some storytelling where we can actually talk about a story and not lament and not bitch and not complain about poor execution. Good faith effort has been executed here, and if there are people from Disney watching, what I want to do is do what I did last week when I was here, is I want to say thank you. Disney, you folks, and I don't know if this is going to Favreau, I don't know if it's going to Filoni, it's going to go to all of you that are on this team, and if there are any of you that worked on this production, and I stayed and I read the credits twice, and I want you folks who worked on the show to know that I read the credits twice, and I read them slowly. I thank you for your best faith efforts to give us, the fans, something that we can embrace, enjoy, and as I have said before, and we say on this channel, without respect we reject, but with respect we not only accept, and today I rejoice.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. I felt like cheering when I saw this episode. I felt like cheering when I saw Chapter 5. I mean, there's been a lot of cheering over the next couple of weeks for Lucasfilm. I am told that this episode has like shattered like records in terms of people rewatching and has gotten more subs for Disney. I mean, my God, Luke Skywalker is the golden goose because he is the soul of Star Wars. It's what we've been telling you people for years and years. And now you're seeing it for yourselves. And thank God you are. And I hope that moving forward, history will be changed. Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, is able to convey more emotion with just a tilt of his helmet than the entire cast of Star Trek Discovery wrapped together.
No!
I mean, seriously, in that
and
one...
then he doesn't point his guns at his own head.
I know! He has Beskar, and he still doesn't do it, because it's fucking stupid. But the thing is, when Din Djarin was looking at them on the hill and sitting there and waiting, I felt so sad for him. I mean, I knew that it was so hard. He says, but he's just right up there. And he won't go see him. You know, Ahsoka wasn't like forbidding him, but saying it's been hard for Grogu, and if you go, it's going to be harder. And we know how that is. We've all had situations like that. Like if we're dropping our dog off at the, you know, at a place while we go on vacation, and we don't look back at the dog, or we'll feel, you know what I mean? I mean, we've all felt that. And I thought it was heartfelt. And that's what's been missing from a lot of Star Wars content, is genuine emotion. And I think, my God, they've got it. They've got it here. And Luke, when he presents Grogu with that choice, well, we'll get to that later. But what was your take on the genuine emotion in this as a writer and as a fan?
Well, you know, that's the pivot of this, is that I think we've all had our critiques of this show. And like I said, I don't care about the show anymore. And I actually don't think Jon Favreau cares about the show anymore. He just wants to do Star Wars. And that's 100% fine with me. And I was pulled in emotionally. I said, the entire episode, I was just on a roller coaster of emotions, from the initial, no, that can't be happening, to the shock, to the delight. And then the sense of wonder and then the laughter when they're literally doing some of they're paying off things that were set off in Empire Strikes Back in his training sequence with Yoda, and then the sense of dread and fear that the episode climaxes. It's a really scary final duel. We don't have to get into the details of it, but it's scary. It's well done. I mean, I was physically on the edge of my seat when that figure was appearing because the way they did it could have been a Sith Lord, it could have been you didn't know what was coming out of that desert, and what appeared was scary enough, and it was a scary duel. So I was like, these guys are taking me the whole way. And then it ends with this choice, which is actually brilliant screenwriting. People are freaking out. They're freaking out like, Favreau is setting us up for failure. I was like, no, he's setting up for what's happening, which is emotional investment. And it's who shot JR. We're there. I mean, we are there at that moment where everyone is engaged on what's going to happen next. That's brilliant storytelling.
Everyone is engaged. Mexican Iron Man, did you feel that honest emotion from Din Djarin?
Oh man, it was. Look, we had the discussion. I mentioned briefly about the whole adoption angle, and it is just, it's absolutely gripping. I mean, here there's a longing, that parental longing, like maybe a kid that he gave up. Basically, hey, I can't take care of. Returning him to his own kind here. He's this adopted kid, his foundling. He does something really nice and sweet for him, something protective like a father would do, right? And he wants to have that honor and that connection. But true love and true respect and dedication requires what? Well, it shows selfless love. And what is selfless love? True love is when you sacrifice without worrying about what you get in return. You just sacrifice, you just do it. And the fact that whoever, the Favreau and his writing team were able to capture that is one of the most powerful. It's one of the most powerful storytelling elements that exists in the human condition, in my opinion. And by having that opportunity to show that and showcase that, and he still walked away, you got to imagine, let's say you're him, you've got to be literally dying inside because you traveled so far, you took the time, you gave up the spear, you had who was, the person who ran your guild or whatever it's called, forges this, and you're worried about him, you want him to be taken care of. And plus also you got to remember this. I mean, he's historically he's a Mandalorian. Mandalorians and Jedis historically throughout the eons aren't exactly the best of buddies. They're the opposite. Mm-hmm. And so for him to give his foundling to the entrusted care of a Jedi, man, come on. There's so many I could talk about just that scene for 3 hours, but I'll leave it at that. Beautiful work, well articulated, heartfelt, and man, just punched me right in the gut of emotion.
The ending really was the key here. But Gary, anything you'd like to say about all this scene?
Yes, the genuine emotion comes from the core of real characters, three-dimensional people, not two-dimensional, bestest ever type characters. These are real people with real relationships and real problems. At its core, it's just like you guys are saying. It's about a guy who was orphaned at one point and now has the chance to do what somebody did for him as a child for this thing. And it's really abrupt what he did in Mando. It's like, okay, well, there's this child that he was supposed to take it in and have it killed. And he's like, nah, fuck that. I'm not doing that. And he made that decision. And then he's on that course. And then at this point in the show, I mean, he's giving up everything for this kid, everything. And that's why we love this guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm watching this. I'm like, wow, I'm actually engaged in this because I care about all these characters. As I'm watching Mando, I care about almost every one of these characters.
Yeah.
I mean, they're great, crafted, real people. I love Carl Weathers. I love Gina Carano. Mando's cool. The stormtroopers can get fucked, but they get shot anyway. It's like target. What a bunch of bullshit that is. But anyway, yeah, it's like that's where that emotional connection comes from between the audience and them, because it's a real story about things that we care about as human beings. So that's come back into Star Wars, and that's where it was always there, in the original movies, and then it got lost in the new bullshit, the KK bullshit. But here's Favreau bringing that spirit back, and that's good. That's nothing but kudos to him.
But I want to talk about the big bantha in the room, which is the ending. So this is important, folks. because I believe that we may be witnessing before our very eyes the erasure of the Disney sequel trilogy at last. Now, we've already started to see it unravel in a lot of ways, but this would be the big line in the sand, because it has been established in canon that Ben Solo, aka Kylo Ren, was Luke Skywalker's first student. If he takes Grogu, if Grogu becomes his first student, then the cards are thrown up in the air, and the Disney sequel trilogy is in fact being erased, as predicted, as sources have said, from the start. So here's the choice. Mandalorian leaves the planet without seeing Grogu because it would upset Grogu and make it harder for Grogu. And it really hurt my heart when Grogu saw the ship flying away and reached out to it. That was hard. But what Mandalorian wanted to do is he gave Ahsoka the armor that he had crafted from his spear for Grogu. And Luke takes Grogu into the completed Jedi temple hut and lays the armor down on the ground and says, you know, Din Djarin brought you this. He wants you to have it. And then he shows him Yoda's lightsaber and says, this was my master's lightsaber, and it can also be yours, but you can only choose one. If you choose the armor, you will return to be with the Mandalorian, and good luck to you. If you choose this lightsaber, I will train you to become a great Jedi. The choice is yours. That is a massive, massive plot point that gave me chills, because, oh my God, if Grogu picks the lightsaber, then history is changed. I believe it has something to do, it'll be probably revealed in Ahsoka, that the reason that history has changed has something to do with the veil of the Force, the world between worlds. As I said like 2 years ago, I think, that would be the mechanism for the changing of time. Like something got screwed up in time. But if he goes back with the Mandalorian, then to my way of thinking, that is a very, very bad sign, because they have brought us to the precipice where it can be absolutely confirmed that they are transforming the Disney sequel trilogy, erasing it and moving on, relegating it to, you know, legends or history or apocrypha or whatever you want to call it. If they turn away, if Grogu takes the armor, I want to get your opinions on, does this mean that they are not going to change the Disney sequel trilogy? Because it seems like they have built everything to bring to this point, and if they blink and they back away, I'm beyond disappointed. I'm actually feeling a bit crushed, and I have serious doubts then that somehow they have changed course and they're chickening out. So I want to just go around and get your opinions on this. I mean, because that's my take on it. Cameron, what do you think?
This is what I think. I'm going to answer now as a screenwriter. If I were sitting in the room with Jon Favreau and pitching this out, boss, here's what I think the story should be. And you're going to be surprised by this answer. If I were writing this with the goal in mind, you know, my goal is to eliminate The Last Jedi and get us back on the right track of the right timeline, right? That's what I want as a storyteller and what I think is correct. But I also know where the audience is, and I also want to create tension. And we have multiple shows we've got to get going. So I would say, John, make him take the armor, create the shock that he seems to be back with the Mandalorian. Give him an adventure with the Mandalorian for one more season, and then return after that. Because I don't think the Mandalorian is going to go on forever. I think maybe one more season is about what it's got. And they need to milk Grogu there because they don't have anything else for that. And go back and then have him return after his adventure, just like Luke returned after his adventure when he went off. He did exactly the same thing. He left the middle of his training, went off and did his own thing, and then came back. And then he comes back. And that doesn't have to in any way. Luke can still be sitting there meditating because Force users ain't that easy to find, right? And it took him a long time, 5 years to find this guy, right? This little kid. And so he comes back after one season, and we have the new Jedi Academy series, so they can milk Grogu for toy sales and keep the Mandalorian going for another season. I don't know that Mr. Pascal wants to do more than another season. We've already heard the problems. We reported on the problems on that show. I think he's ready to move on, but they want to make money. So get Grogu toys for one more season of Mandalorian, then bring him over to Jedi Academy. And for a brief moment, the black pills out there will scream, see, told you. Jon Favreau wants to do The Last Jedi, which he doesn't want to do. But they will scream that because they'll scream that no matter what happens. And then he will return, and the timeline will subtly change until Miss Kennedy is eventually, she's got to retire someday, guys, to when she's eventually off the actual roster of the company. Then they will do the World Between Worlds and change it all. They can't do that while she's there, because that's a direct slap in her face and a rejection of her work. They can't do that while she's there. So hopefully she retires this year or shortly thereafter. But that's what I would do as a storyteller and dealing with the politics of the situation. So I think you're going to get what you think you don't want, Doomcock, and it will turn into exactly what you want.
Well, I tell you, that is extremely fucking risky, because fans have been patient. Mm-hmm. Fans have suffered a long time. Mm-hmm. And it's down to just a few super villains and crazy people still holding on faith for Star Wars. But if they blink, and for toy sales or whatever, they risk pissing me off, pissing off fans like me. I mean, who am I? I'm just Doomcock, but I mean, fans like, I represent a certain segment of the fan base that has been clinging to the tattered shreds of hope, praying to God that there's something to save. And if they say, nah, and they toy with us, I think that's extremely fucking risky. Extremely fucking risky. What they need to do is respect the fans, like Chapek was saying. Have the fans be a North Star, and their guide. Well, this fan has been telling you for years that you need to decanonize the sequel trilogy. You need to get rid of Kennedy, and you need to at least extend the olive branch to Gina Carano and give her the opportunity to come back. And God damn it, if you're gonna okay, so Kennedy may or may not be renewed. They still haven't announced it. I think she probably is, but God knows what the terms of her goddamn contract is. So that's not fulfilled. And then they have the chance to send a clear message to fans that we're taking this seriously. We are making this move. Fuck Kennedy. Who gives a fuck what she thinks? At this point, honestly, your fucking franchise is on the line. And I'm not yelling at you, Cameron, but I'm just like, this is it, man.
You're speaking for the fans. You're speaking for the fans. You're speaking for a lot of fans. I'm telling you that I think they still got to balance a lot of politics, and you are one of the politics. Your voice is one of those things they're trying to balance in their effort to get through the madness of what Kennedy did to Lucasfilm. But you are an important voice. I only think we even have this choice because of people like you that force the situation. So take that victory.
And let me say this about who is Doomcock and who is Xanadu, and you bring up an excellent point, Cameron. When I look at who we are, I see just even 3 years ago when they doubted Doomcock about the Galaxy's Edge, and he sent me in there to do that video, and that we got like 130,000 views on that. We have like almost 300,000 subscribers at this channel. You know how big that is as a city? 300,000 subs, 275. That's bigger than damn near most cities in the United States. So who is Xanadu? Xanadu is the people. Xanadu is the fans. Xanadu are the passion. Xanadu are the people with money. And damn it, Xanadu are the people that can help this company get back to where it needs to go. But while I hear you out, Cameron, and I had a similar hard reaction when I left Disney. I'm just like, how in the hell are they going to retool all of the sequel trilogy shit, which is just all over the place? Then I thought about it, and I thought about, you know what? It actually isn't that hard. Almost all of the sequel trilogy stuff that's at Disneyland is really computer screens and holograms. I had this discussion with a few other people this week, and It really wouldn't take much. In fact, if we recalled, all of the Galaxy's Edge was supposed to be set in the original Star Wars universe, and then they changed it. But with very little effort, all of that could be changed. I want to see the Galactic Hotel Star Cruiser, whatever the F that disaster is. I want to see that fail. That's further sign of failure. We know the movies failed. I want to see that thing fail. I got to the Ride of the Resistance ride was probably the most incredible ride I've ever been on in my life. That being said, the skins can change on that sucker. I mean, there's only 4 or 5 appearances that don't last more than a split second. They can revideo that down the road once the hard work is done in the TV series. I'm going to tell you this. I will personally tell you right now that if they don't take this opportunity, I'm going to lose my mind. And I know that they might not take this opportunity for the right choice. And I don't want to lose my mind again, but it was just a year and a half ago that Doomcock and I were done with Star Wars. I mean, Doomcock, do you remember baseball season 2 years ago where I didn't even go to the Star Wars? I called you for advice. I had season tickets. I'd like to go dress up in my Jedi outfit with my lightsabers to Star Wars night at Oakland A's Stadium, primo tickets, box seats. And I called you and I said, I can't give them my money. And what did you tell me? What did you tell me? You remember?
You basically don't lose hope, man.
Yeah, and at the same time, don't give them the money. You know, like, Mike, how are you gonna feel? I'm like, okay. And then what happened? The day that the Luke Skywalker thing happened, I was on your show. It happened on a Friday, that Thursday, and we experienced it live together, literally. You know, and then the Gina thing, and I've gone through too many ups and downs. So Disney, here's the flip side of my message earlier, where I congratulated you. If you're listening to this, don't blow this. If you guys have already made the wrong choice in editing, I know you've got 2 endings. You have 5 days. Get it together. Get it together right now. Do not make this mistake and take the opportunity to do what needs to be done. That's all.
Amen. That is my feeling. And Cameron, I understand what you're saying. Like, but they don't have any goodwill left to toy with. Okay.
You should tell them what you're doing. I know they're watching this. I know they're watching this right now. Somebody from Favreau's camp is watching this, and you're telling them. And I wouldn't be surprised if Mike is correct that they have 2 endings filmed, and they're going to choose this weekend.
I drag myself. I have when Doomcock says I think of UFO things of cow carcasses out on a farmland, where they're missing part. That's all there was left for me of this thing. It has taken every last sliver of design. I drag myself to watch the Boba Fett series. I dragged myself, and after the first episode or 2, I literally forced myself to go through it. Now I'm excited again. I'm optimistic again. Good God. I mean, when I told my little sister for her birthday she could have anything she wants, and she says, will you take me to Disney Galaxy's Edge? I almost puked. Okay? I mean, literally, I'm like, seriously, that's what you're gonna pick? Like, yeah, will you take me to Disney? I'm like, okay. I mean, can't tell her no, Doomcock, right? She's your little sister, right?
Right.
But God, I can't do much more of this Disney, Star Wars, Lucasfilm. Do what's right. It's right in front of you. Literally, pick up the lightsaber that will give us hope and unite us and take us forward, and don't take us backwards anymore.
I agree. This is the point where, I mean, they didn't have to bring things to this point, but now that they have, if they back away from it, fuck, I am just going to shit. Because it's like, then patience. We've had to wait years. And people have said, well, you said that they were erasing the Disney sequel trilogy. Well, why haven't they, Doomcock? And I said, because it takes years over multiple series to make this work. Well, by God, we are at that point now where they could basically truly send a message to fans that we are changing things. And if they don't take that just for some toy sales, or to have the Diane and what's his name, Ted Danson on Cheers, like will they, won't they, and then they don't again. There is no goodwill in the bank anymore. You have exhausted the goodwill. You don't dare take that risk. If you take that risk, people are gonna be fucking pissed that have been holding out hope and faith for years now. So choose wisely, or wither like a skeleton and drop to dust like in Indiana Jones or The Last Crusade. Choose wisely. Choose the honest grail and give it to us, because we have been owed this for years. Years. We have been owed this. And if you yank it away from our lips before we can drink from it, woe be unto you, Disney. Gary Ambrosia, what do you think?
Well, you want to talk about art reflecting life, the choice. You know, look at the choice that Disney has to make, like you're saying right now. Here's what I think. You know, without Grogu, there really isn't Mandalorian. And Mandalorian is the only good Star Wars right now. So if Grogu goes with Skywalker, there's no more Mandalorian show. I mean, there's no. It's not. I don't know, man.
Look, he's got the dark saber now. We've got
right, so
Bo-Katan, and there's going to be all that struggle with, and last thing he needs is like a hole in the head is a fucking little kid tagging around while he's like dealing with who's going to rule Mandalore.
Okay,
right?
all right. So if they do allow Grogu to stay with Luke Skywalker, then yeah, then it would be great. But I guess. I don't know. Maybe Mandalorian is gonna go a different direction now, as far as that story goes, without Grogu. All right, I guess it would take a little while for me to get used to that, but I don't know. That was
Grogu. He'll probably see Grogu again soon when he sees Luke Skywalker, and Grogu will be like growing in the Force, and they're gonna need Grogu moving forward. You know, I mean, I think coming battles and everything.
Yeah, Grogu is very popular. That's one of the reasons why people watch the show. So Disney needs Grogu.
But
so.
I think they're going to do a Luke Skywalker series. I've heard rumblings about a Luke Skywalker series. Yeah.
Wow.
In which case, then Grogu would be like his student.
I didn't think that effect was sustainable, but hopefully it is. That would be great if they can get that technology just down. Like I noticed, technically, you know, we don't really see him talking a whole lot. And there's a very narrow range of what they can have the guy, whoever's playing Mark Hamill, to do. And then Mark Hamill has to give the voice. It's very limited, but it's still doable. I don't know if it could be a whole series, but I mean, he could definitely be a predominant character in a different series, I think. I certainly hope that that's not the last we see of him, but
it's inevitable. The moment Luke Skywalker appeared in the season, that's when I returned to Disney Plus. I hadn't watched any Star Wars since The Last Jedi. I didn't watch Solo. I didn't watch any of it. I didn't subscribe. I didn't watch Mandalorian until I heard that, and then I binge watched Mandalorian 2 seasons the next day. Right, but I knew the moment they could do that purely from a financial point of view. You can't. They saw the reaction. They saw the reaction a year ago. Now they're seeing the reaction even more now. We got much more of Luke Skywalker with better facial technology and you know, all this stuff. People want Skywalker. That's just money. That's money in the bank. The Jedi Academy, the Young Jedi show, that's inevitable. Whether Grogu will be part of it, I think he will be. Whether he takes a season off with Mando, I don't know. But he will inevitably be part of it because he's going to be the first student. That's how they're going to quietly change the timeline. And then the moment Miss Kennedy has done her official I'm out and thank you for all my awards, then I think they'll do the World Between Worlds and throw it all out very publicly. But I think they got to be careful about doing that while she still has her name somewhere on the employment roster.
Well, I guess if they are more concerned with keeping her ass happy than making the fans happy, then they can go fuck right off. Because you know what? I've been carrying their goddamn water for a long time now. And if they are brought it to this point and they turn away and say, yeah, nah, fuck you. Okay?
So there's option 3. There's an option 3, Doomcock, which I think some of the people in chat are pointing out. Option 3 is they don't answer the question next week. There's enough entry. Han Solo comes back.
Oh, I know.
Happen, and then they hold off while they deal with the internal politics, because I think they've already learned that internal politics can destroy Star Wars. They've learned it many times. They just learned it again on Boba Fett. So I think the smartest thing for them to do would be to not resolve the answer to this next week and solve all these problems So they don't have what we just saw happen with Jeff Zucker, right? At CNN. You get one disgruntled employee saying, I'm going to leak all your secrets, right? And getting Jeff Zucker fired. You don't want a crazy, psychotic Kathleen Kennedy getting people fired, you know, because she knows all their dark secrets. You need to get her out quietly, right? Because we just watched the head of CNN being ousted by a disgruntled employee who starts leaking secrets about him. There's a lot of secrets we don't even know about, but it was enough that the law firm's like, get rid of this guy, right? And so because otherwise he's going to leak it all. So that's what we just saw happen to Jeff Zucker, you know. They can't let Kathleen Kennedy, who's far more powerful than Chris Cuomo and knows a lot more about bad things about people, leave.
But you know what's more profitable than that, Cameron? And I hear where you're coming. You're trying to look at things from your perspective inside the industry, screenwriter and all that.
Yep.
Your assessment is incredibly valid. I'm going to come back and say this, though. Disney, if you care about profits, you care about views, you care about fans, don't do this. Do what needs to be done. Choose the fans. I'm going to be even more direct. I'm going to quote Susan Arnold, and I'm going to quote Bob Chapek more specifically. I just learned, and I'm a Disney stockholder, and I hold Disney stock. I was just told as a stockholder and as a fan of various properties that Disney controls and owns that the company is going in a new direction where what the fan wants and what the fan needs is going to be at the core of where we go as a company going forward. So as a very small little stockholder of Disney, as a longtime fan of Star Wars, as someone who has begrudgingly gone through all of the ups and downs of the pains, the sufferings, the joys, and the cliffs that I've been dropped off of, and I'm still here, show me the way. Disney, this is the way. Make the right choice. Make it happen. And you know what is you know what's going to happen in response? In response, you will regain the goodwill that has been lost. Those of us that are still here will celebrate your victory, and we will speak with our pocketbooks and our wallets, and that stock value will go up, and the value of what you spend money on will have real earnest value, and it will survive and thrive.
Amen. And I would just say, what about this scenario? What if the reason that we haven't heard anything about Kathleen Kennedy's contract is because the contract that she signed that gave her, you know, what perks she wanted and payouts and everything else also said you need to shut the fuck up and you need to stop like antagonizing fans, and you just need to quietly do your shit and stay out of the way of Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. So she maybe took the deal and it muzzled her, and she's now muzzled.
I believe
so. It doesn't really matter if she's happy or not. Now, what if in this episode, Luke is there with Grogu, and suddenly the Millennium Falcon appears, and Han Solo and Chewbacca and Princess Leia get off of the ship and tell Luke that he's going to be an uncle, like she's pregnant, and then Grogu takes the lightsaber. Now, how would that be? I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's like there are many different scenarios that could go that would make fans absolutely do cartwheels, because that would be a real fuck you if Grogu looks at pregnant Leia and then takes the lightsaber like, nuh-uh.
You should be in the writer's room, sir. You should be in the writer's room and fix that, because it's.
I mean, would that be something? Because it's like, well, we thought you'd like to know, kid. You're going to be an uncle.
Well, and, even though it's twins. It's that greatest thing. It's twins, right? I'm carrying twins.
Right. That would be the best. And then Grogu takes the lightsaber, and it's like a double-fisted fuck you to the sequel trilogy, to Kennedy, and everything else. That would be fantastic. And she's gagged because she took the golden bait in this contract renewal. That's why she hasn't said anything about her contract. The only leak was from her husband retweeting a thing that somebody else tweeted, and apparently, from what my sources said, they were not fucking happy about that.
Yeah, that was her trying to get around her little. She thought she was smarter than them. So that was her way of. Well, it's not me. You didn't say my husband couldn't say something, and they probably said, "Look, this is implied that no one in your camp says anything, so don't fuck around."
Right. So we will see if that happens. God, I pray to God that that's it. But this has been a great discussion, guys. Ha 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 ha.